All right, we're live. Joe's Minibike Reunion, the inaugural El Numero Uno podcast. And I'm sitting in with the man himself, Evil Ed. Evil Ed's going to fill us in on a lot of his escapades in this mini bike world shortly, but I want to welcome everybody to being a part of the podcast. We're going to try to blow this thing out, every couple weeks. It's bi-weekly. I'm Joe Sebergandio, and I'm a mini bike fanatic just like you guys are. I started off mini bikes like in the 60s. I was a young kid living in upstate New York in the projects, and I really didn't have much game, I didn't have much, and I knew that these mini bikes, I used to read about them in the back of the Boys Life magazine and see those small little ads for the mini bike kits. And I had to get my mini bike, and I had no money. I had like no job. I was a young punk, and I would do anything I can to save a little extra money to buy that $99 mini bike kit, And I saved quarters, and I cried, and I moaned, and ultimately, my mom, she came through. She had a little bit of help. We rolled out I lived in upstate New York, and we rolled out from Utica, New York, to a little place in Marcy, and it was a place that sold lawnmowers and tillers and all that agricultural junk. And in front of that parking lot, there must have been 20 mini bikes, 3 horsepower or 5 horsepower. And they had different colors, and they had different color frames and engines, and they were all Bozos. And all you guys back east, and even some guys out here like Scott out in Palmdale, wherever the hell you are, some of the guys even out here on the West Coast have Bozo. But Bozo was one of those brands that was kind of an East Coast bike. And I got my bike. I got to pick it out. My mom had a 66 Barracuda. We barely got that bike in the back of the trunk, and we drove it home. And when I got home, my parking lot was full of all the kids who lived in the projects. And it was as if I was bringing home a movie star. 50 of them helped me unload it. And many of the 50 guys that helped me unload it were the guys who were kicking my ass the day before, right? Or the guys who wouldn't talk to me. And now all of a sudden, all the attention's on me over this mini bike, and I'm gone from like nobody to the cool kid. And this mini bike had one of those gas tanks, and it had the visible dial, so it told you when the gas tank was full. You could tell because the meter would be all the way to the top. Well, because I was such an idiot, and because I was so naive, I thought for sure that if you bought a mini bike, especially for $99. Well, they'd give you a little gas. So I thought, although the needle was down all the way, I had no idea that meant that there was no gas in the bike. So again, fast forward to us being in the parking lot with everybody in the world, 20, 30 kids, and watching me with this mini bike, just waiting for me to start it up and ride it. And for a friggin' half hour, we pulled that pull starter. And we pulled it. And we pulled it, and we pulled it, and we pulled it, and it didn't start. None of us had mini bikes before. We were poor kids living in the projects. All the rich kids had the Honda 70s with the electric start. We're in there trying to get this thing started. And my mom had enough of it. She had enough of everything, the crowd, the noise. She helped get it loaded. We drove all the way back to Marcy, which is not what she wanted to do. Make no mistake about it. She did not want to drive to friggin' Marcy to go drop the stupid mini bike off that she knew, incidentally, was going to be the biggest mistake she ever made. So we bring the bike all the way back to Marcy. My mom, she ain't taking no shit. She goes out to the place. She finds the guy who sold us the mini bike. She's tapping him on the chest. And next thing I knew, the guy's like laughing. And she looks at me and, she gives me that look like, you dumb bastard. Well, there was no gas in it. There was no gas in the bike, right? We get the gas in the bike, we bring it back, and everybody's there. They're still there waiting, and it was cool because it started, and I took that little first lap around the projects, around the garbage shed, and came down. And when I was coming down, I was like hitting the victory lap at Daytona, and from then on, it was a different world, brother. I had no idea about mini bikes. All I knew is that it gave me like my first dose of true hands-on experience, basic, mechanical pieces of information that you have to know. You have to know how to, in that place in this case they had disc brakes, so you had to know that. If the carburetor, they had those diaphragms at the time, Like, no one knew what a diaphragm was, and if you did, it wasn't for a mini bike. So we had to clean out the diaphragms and keeping the chain lubricated. We were spraying hairspray in there. I remember when we first started, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. So I learned a lot on that friggin' mini bike. And again, it gave me that coolness. I rode that mini bike in the daytime. I rode it in the friggin' nighttime. I rode it in the rain. I rode that thing in the snow. The 2 months that I used to take it from my house and put it in my Aunt Antoinette's cellar, because the weather would get so bad in upstate New York that you couldn't just leave it out in the garage because it would rust up. So I used to store it down there for 2 grueling months, sometimes 3 months, because the weathers were nasty. And when I would get that bike out every year, the few years that I had it, it was magical. I love that bike, and I pissed off a lot of people with that bike too in that apartment complex. Make no mistake about it. To the point that we had to move. When we got to the new place, as anxious as I was to be the cool kid with the mini bike in the old apartments, well, when we moved to the new apartments, which incidentally were new, man, I was on top of the world. I'm getting ready to roll into these new apartments, and I'm going to have my new mini bike, and I'm going to go tear this place up, and I'm going to show people who I am, right? Well, they're unloading the furniture, taking them all day. I'm waiting for this friggin' mini bike to get out of the truck. All of a sudden, I'm inside the house. I come back, the truck's gone. So I asked my mom, I said, "Where's my mini bike?" She goes, "Sit down." I sit down. I said, "Come on, where's the mini bike?" She goes, "There's no more mini bike." Roger, the son of a bitch from Upstate Furniture Store on Bleecker Street, New York, if I ever find you, my mom, instead of paying the $65 for the move, gave Roger the mini bike. And I was shell shocked, man. It was like not just losing your girlfriend and your dog, but it was all that. And I knew that I would get mine. I was going to get some mini bikes when I had my way. And fast forward now at 56, I don't know. I started getting into this when I got in my 40s. I've had 15, 20 bikes. There's bikes everywhere around here, and I love them. I love the simplicity of them. I love the fact that it really kind of got me into cars. Really, it got me on that path to the point that I'm doing this podcast, and to the point that I've become a collector, and I've become like an ambassador and a spokesperson for this little hobby, this little sport of ours. And I've loved every damn minute of it up until about, I don't know, like 5 years ago. I decided, in fact, it was something that my daughter Nikole said. She said, "You have so many mini bikes, you ought to have your own show, your own mini bike event." And I laughed, and then I thought about it. It's like, you know what, she's probably right. And I started Joe's Minibike Reunion, and that's kind of why I'm here, is that I want to talk about things. And this first show, the easiest decision I had to make was who my first guest was going to be, and he's none other than Evil Ed Rowlett, who has been with me ever since I jumped into the scene. And believe me, he was making the scene happen way before I was around. But Ed, welcome to the show. Sorry for the long-winded intro, but man, I really appreciate the fact that you would bounce out here. Although you've been bouncing out here, it seems like every other week anyways with the things we've been going on. But welcome to the show, man. How are you?
All right. Thanks, Joe. Yeah, I'm all right. Doing all right.
Did you work today?
Yes.
Hey,
it's
for
really
the folks that don't know,
it's really getting in the way of building mini bikes.
All the work?
Yes.
I was going to say, tell the folks what you do during your day job. I think everybody knows you're definitely doing the mini bike thing.
Well, actually, I have 2 jobs. One is like shipping and receiving and making little kits up for this guy that makes computer screen holders and computer printer tray holders and all kinds of weird stuff you can move around left from your desk, and it's got these little knobs and you turn them, you can move your stuff any way you want. Anyway, that's what I do most of the time. And then my other friend has a shop which I do some painting. He's a fabricator, so he does like whatever anyone comes in. Someone wants a garage door out of metal, he'll make one. Someone wants a staircase, he'll make it. Someone wants window frames out of metal, he'll make them. Anything. Well, he's making some signs right now, and they need to be painted. They're like they look like for sale signs, but they're not. They're going to be for an apartment in Beverly Hills. And these little signs are going to have the apartment number on them, each one. There's like, he said there's like 45 of them.
All different, all unique, all kind of one-off pieces that you guys are creating over there.
It's
Yeah, well, that's got to be
basically-
cool, right?
Yeah, it's all right, but that gets into my mini bike building on the weekends.
Yeah, you're making it seem like it's this mundane kind of put
I
this
hate
piece
it.
together. I'm sure it's probably really cool stuff, but
You know, it's like I have projects that I started a year and a half ago. I haven't even touched them. They got dust on them so thick, I don't even know I could find them anymore.
I can't answer the question when people ask off the cuff. It's like, well, how many bikes do you have? I don't lie, but I just ballpark nuts. Like, I think there's 12. I remember a time I said I think there was 20, or I look around now. Like, I forgot about. I ran into Minibike Paul. Who we all know what's happening to Minibike Paul.
Yeah, I did a bunch of work for him.
Yeah. In fact, I was fortunate enough to grab his Powell, but I got that thing. I was ecstatic, and then I forgot about it. I had the thing until you popped over the other day. Excuse me. There you go. I haven't even had the pizza yet. So the collection, the collection, I don't know how many bikes are here or lurking down at a few other spots that we hold out. How many are in your collection now when you think about it? Do you remember? Do you know?
Well, at one time I had like 10, and I keep them in the house. And all of a sudden it was like, hey, I can't even walk in the house anymore. I got to get rid of some of these. So I sold off a few. Then I decided I wanted to build a couple different ones. So the herd got bigger. And
Primarily Bonanzas, weren't you?
Yeah, I kind of like Bonanzas.
Why? What is it about the Bonanzas?
Okay, well, when I was a little kid, long time ago, we're talking like 5th grade.
They had wheels back then?
Yeah,
Tires on it?
Yeah, 5th grade. Probably in the 60s, like 67. My friend, he always told me, come on over, I want to show you something. So one day I went over there, and there's this, I remember, bright blue Bonanza 5-horse.
Oh, yeah.
His mom bought it for him.
Chrome exhaust?
Yeah, he
was
had the chrome exhaust.
What are those,
It
the
was a BC
1400?
Yeah, 1300.
Oh, 13, okay.
Yeah, it was a 1300, and it was pretty fast. So I rode it a few times after school, and it was well, I can't hang out if I don't have a mini bike, so I had to go home and talk my parents into buying me one.
Now, where was this? Where did you grow up? You were in the
grew
valley,
up in
right?
Van Nuys.
Okay, and this is when? This is like
This
in
is
the...
like 68, 67, 68, somewhere around there.
Okay.
His bike was brand new. I think it just came out with they had them at some shop, I think it was on Woodley, called Delta Pit Stop. I think they had a couple there.
What were they selling for at that time, Ed?
Like $180 or something.
That was a lot, actually.
It's 180 for
Yeah.
a new one.
Yeah.
So I got my dad talked into it. And
Well, that was the easy part.
Yeah,
Getting your mom
you
to
know,
friggin' let you get
so we looked on back then you didn't have a computer or Craigslist. So you had to get the newspaper and look at the ads that were in the newspaper.
Or drive around and you'd see like one in the window at a tire store.
Yeah, or something like that.
Right, you know, tempting
So
you every friggin' time
went
you drove
over
by
to
it.
that Delta Pit Stop, and he goes, "No, I can't afford one of those new ones. Let's go home and see if we can get you a used one." I said, "Oh, okay." So that was a heartbroken day.
Yeah, but you would have taken it anyways, right?
About a week or so later, one popped up in the Valley green sheet. $50. So my dad called him. We went there, started it up. I rode it up and down the street, and I
Bingo.
ended up taking it home.
That was it, huh?
So I rode it over to my friend's house, and we went riding all over those side streets. We didn't have to worry about cops because it was all side streets over there. There wasn't a lot of traffic.
There weren't a lot of. It wasn't all taken by homes yet at the time either, right? There's a lot of dirt. Right?
Yeah, there was some dirt lots on the corners of the streets and stuff, so we could ride in there.
And how many was in your pack? Like, did you have 2 or 3 guys? You have like a pack of 4 or 5 guys.
We just had 2.
Is really? Yeah. Okay.
It seemed like everyone else's parents wouldn't let them have a mini bike.
Yeah, that's why I asked the question. When I got mine, it was me, one other big black dude, Charles. Ironically, when you say big black dude, Charles in our industry,
Charles
it's definitely mini drag bike.
drag bike.
Who will be another guy I can't wait to get our viewers in front of, doing some great things. What's happening, Charles? There was me, one other black dude you don't mess around with. He had a 5 horsepower Tecumseh with a Bonanza. and he didn't stop for you to tell him that you liked it. He just drove by, man. He was on a mission, just ride that mini bike, but he didn't hang with me, that's for sure. And then two other guys. One of them had I hated him. He had like one of those KV75s, those Kawasaki's,
Kawasaki's,
rich little,
yeah.
Nice guy. And then one other gal who had a CT70.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 69, I think. So, and those people, they had houses. They had they lived, they weren't kids in the projects. Like, they weren't kids buying them out of the green sheet. So we didn't have a lot of folks. So I would kind of envision you being there in the valley, just turning up with a group of guys riding mini bikes.
Yeah, most of it was just me and this other guy. And then we went to the same junior high together. Well, once we got into junior high, then we met a few more kids with mini bikes because it was like different areas, going to the one school.
From grammar school?
From grammar school
sure.
to junior high. Then you had people from the other side of the street coming to that school that you never saw when you were going to elementary school.
Did you taste a little bit of what I did, which was a little bit of being kind of cool because you had the bike?
Yeah.
There was that little
people
fraternity.
wanted to start hanging out with you so they could ride your bike.
Yeah, and every one of those bastards, when they rode it, they would either drop it or get hurt. So there you are with your buddies. Where would you guys ride?
Just in the streets.
What about these? I heard about these guys riding to the friggin' ocean, man.
Well, we used to ride. The street was a main street. We'd ride that to the railroad tracks. Okay. Back then, the railroad tracks didn't have any fences up. So you could ride along the tracks, on the side of the tracks, for miles.
Sure. And no one broke your balls either, right? When you were
No.
Yeah.
So we would go to the railroad tracks, like every day after school.
Yeah, and just ride, right?
Yeah, we'd all go home, jump on our mini bikes, and head over to the tracks.
2 tanks? Did you go through 2 tanks?
No, I it was so long ago. I think I'd fill it up, get a gallon can, and then fill it up, and then fill the mini bike up every day before I would ride it to make sure. And we would just ride on 1 tank of gas every day.
The reason why I asked, I always remember that those 2 tank days always were the coolest ones. Like when you were riding those mini bikes and you were going through 2 tanks and that thing wasn't either broken or you hadn't gotten in any serious trouble where the cops didn't take it from you or something. Were those guys actually going that far? Would they take those train tracks?
Yeah. We took the tracks from Van Nuys into, I would say, not Reseda, but on where Van Nuys would cut into Reseda, we would take it that far. But our main deal was like on Saturdays, there was a place called Delta Pit Stop on Woodley Avenue.
So they had all the bikes?
We would take the tracks down to Woodley and then cut down Woodley and go hang out at Delta Pit Stop.
Cool. And that's that when you started getting into fixing the bikes up a little bit more, maybe swapping out the wheels.
One day I got home, went to start the bike back up.
Yeah, it's not.
Dad, my bike won't go. What's wrong? He says, I don't know. Let me rev it up and see. Well, I think your clutch is bad.
Sure.
Oh, how much is that going to cost? I don't know. We got to load it in the back of my El Camino, 59 El Camino. Take it to your favorite place and ask them how much they would charge to fix it.
$15, wasn't that the deal?
It was like 15, $20.
Yeah, cool deal.
But it was like...
Comet clutch?
No, I don't even remember what it was. But all I know is after that clutch broke, it was like, okay, I got to start learning how to maintain this thing.
Well, did you even have tools?
My dad had tools.
Yeah, so that's the deal too. We had like 6 tools, and they were all in the fork drawer. So your first set of tools for mini bikes is like wherever you can grab them, right?
Yeah. See, back then we had carports. We didn't even have garages. They were open carports.
All right.
And my dad was a 55 Chevy nut, and he liked 59 El Camino. So that's all he ever had.
Smart. I love the 59 El Caminos.
He'd go buy a 55 Chevy for $25 and then go to the junkyard and buy a $50 motor.
Sure.
And then put it in. He had all the tools to put it in.
Yeah.
So all the tools were just out there in the carport. Back then, no one was stealing stuff.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool. So
that's where you got into hot rods then too. Not only through the mini bike deal, but your dad, right?
yeah, he was
Yeah.
he was a car guy, and cracked me up because he would just have the stuff laying around on the shelves in the carport. That's where I saw paint, paint in cans.
What was it? What was the
Spray
attraction of the paint?
paint.
Was it was it what the paint did?
It was
Or was it the
oh,
smell? Or was it just
Well, let's see. My mini bike's black, but this color here looks good. So I asked him, "Hey, can I borrow that paint right there?" He goes, "What are you gonna do?" I said, "I'm gonna paint my mini bike." So we masked it up and we painted it that color, and then I'm like, "Okay, I can do that without him now." So if I see another color I like, I'm gonna repaint it.
Were you any good first time through?
No, I got runs.
No, I'm talking about the paint.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, 0.08. Stop that cheap joke, Ed. Sorry. No, your paint. I've been the recipient of your paint jobs. There's national companies out there, huh? that have been recipients of your paint job.
Yeah.
And although you claim to paint in the dirt, I'll let you paint in the dirt all day long if you paint as well as you do. So whatever the hell you learned.
You got to
back then,
sneak up on the weather when you paint like that.
hey, my luck, I'd be trying to paint in a day like this. I don't know if you look out at the truck, Ed. We got the official. Emmanuel and I picked this up about a week ago. The Chevy.
Yeah.
And I shameless friggin' self promotion. I put those rails on there, and I stained it. I did the floor and I did the rails, and it rains before it even takes. So I may have to use some of your painting skills on that pretty soon. But
Well, cars are a little different than bike parts.
yeah, we found that out.
See, I
Huh?
got my stuff rigged up to where I find a nice day. I really don't wet the floor down
Yeah.
because I don't want to be stepping in mud.
Right.
So I try and get on a non-windy day,
We've got a few of those out here.
paint as fast as I can, and drag it in the house.
How do you get it in?
Well, I got like different stands. I can
Already set up.
pick it up
Yeah.
while it's wet on
Yeah.
the stand and go and put it in the house on a table.
So
Then I open up all the doors in the house because I don't want to be breathing that.
yeah, Ed's living by himself, just as you can imagine.
But I try and get it in the house for at least like an hour, hour and a half until it gets like dust free, and then I take it back outside.
Let the heat, everything kind of get to it.
Yeah, but right, the first 30, 45 minutes, it's still wet, so you don't want nothing falling in it.
Sure. So the painting was something that you were initially drawn to when you were kind of younger, and then the nuts and bolts part of it.
Yeah, I was using Cal Custom candy colors when I was about 12.
Wow. So I guess if there's any label that you'd give yourself is you're kind of a painter in that regard, right? It's kind of that's what you started off with.
Yeah, that's what I started out with. I worked at Lockheed for like 10 years painting the Stealth, top security clearance, and painting motorcycles. Got into cars, but cars took too long.
Everybody's painting cars too, right? Who the hell's painting
Yeah,
like the
cars
cool
take too
motorcycle
long.
paint jobs? Got a lot of attention and the work on the Stealth. I mean, my God.
So I was painting a lot of motorcycles, and then people would bring me like mini bike frames, bicycle frames, and stuff like that was quick to do.
Yeah, and some immediate satisfaction too, right? As a painter, it's
Yeah.
nice somebody rolled in that black frame and you tricked it out with some purple,
Yeah.
metal flake. You leave that guy smiling and laughing. And so in the midst of the bikes and not so much the cars, but I would imagine the motorcycles, these mini bikes start popping up. How is it that the mini bike, that platform, that little rigid frame death trap, how is it that one captures your spotlight, unlike the cars or maybe even the big
Maybe like your first mechanical experience. It's like,
yeah, babe. Yeah,
this
got
thing, This is cool. It's
been with me forever.
It just stays with you.
Yeah.
It just stays with you. It's like, I had so much fun when I was a kid on this. When I look back at everything where we used to ride, the railroad tracks, empty lots, drag racing up and down the side streets. And it's just memory. And you have fun.
I was reading Roadkill, which I love. In fact, you'll be in this one day.
Oh, okay.
You know what they say in Roadkill? It's like, here's the problem we have. It's that what holds you back from pulling out the friggin' transmission? What holds you back from painting the car? What holds you back from welding? What holds you back from putting a K-frame in a 6-cylinder Duster so you can drop a V8 in there? What puts you from doing that is fear. You're afraid you're gonna screw up. You're gonna and what they tell you, and they have fun doing it, is like, try it, man. Just try it.
You gotta try it, yeah.
And I've seen it. I've seen it where just start the friggin' job and watch your guy next door and watch your neighbor and watch your cousin come
I learned
out.
a lot of stuff from my dad, watching him
How
put
nice,
those
yeah.
motors in the cars and stuff, and handing him wrenches and hand me a half-inch. Okay.
Yeah.
What's a half-inch? A 1 and a 2 on it with a slash. Oh, okay, here it is.
Next time you asked for it, you felt what one was. Yeah, no, it was that. Go grab me the snips. It's like, what's he talking about? Go grab the snips. Like, where are they? It's like, I didn't have the balls to tell him I know what he's talking about, right? So there's that indoctrination into mechanics. There's that little hazing that you kind of go through by the guys who, they know you haven't spinned a wrench. They know you don't know where to stick the friggin' oil. That was the other thing on my first mini bike. I forgot stupid things like you got to put oil.
Got to check the oil.
How about when the clutch, when the first time my clutch started to make that noise that we've all heard? It's like, well, what's this? You got to lubricate it. It's like, what? Okay, all that stuff. Is at the time, I don't know about you, but my memories, a lot of it was spent on the side of the road trying to get this thing to run. Right, that was a lot of it. And so that riding, you didn't ride every day of the week. You tried to friggin' ride every day of the week, but ultimately
something always happened to your mini
yeah.
bike.
And if it didn't, it was your buddies. That was just how it went. So it got to be just more of a kind of an experience. Whether or not you were going to actually ride, that was almost secondary. But along the way, whether it was your bike or your buddy's bike that was broken down, you're right there with them. To your point, grab me the wrench, or you got to change that first.
Go to my house and get the gas can.
Christ, I wish it was that easy, right? You can just go get the gas can. It's like, why is this block cracked? Hey, look, we've seen a lot of cool things happen in the mini bike scene, but I don't want to get too quick into the current scene because I want to talk about some of the things that were a part of the old scene, and a lot of it is mini bike ownership, kind of by region. I grew up in upstate New York, as I said, and for some reason, Bonanzas were popular there, along with there was some Arctic Cat action there. There was a little bit of Bozo, as I talked about. And then there was the traditional mail order bikes, the JCPenney, Montgomery Wards.
Bird.
Yeah, Bird wasn't one that was like everywhere. And then I kind of got the sense, and as I look back now, the Midwest was heavy rup. A lot of rups, Chicago and even parts of Michigan, where there was an open room where suspension was kind of needed.
Yeah.
It's one thing to ride your rigid frame bike around a cement parking lot in upstate New York rather than riding in a country in Ohio. So those bikes with the shocks,
yeah,
and those typically had 4 or 5 horsepower engines.
Yeah, 3.5, 4, 5.
So the Midwest was kind of rup, and then a mixture, West Coast taco, right?
Yeah, taco came out. That was cool. Everyone wanted a taco.
Steam.
I don't think they were made very well, but everyone, I think, wanted it because the color purple that it was. I think that's what it was.
That holds true till this day. People will advertise taco purple, and in fact, although most of the ones that they say are original are far from it, we all know that. But
then they have another mini, like you look on Craigslist now, everyone's calling their mini bike a taco, and you look at it and go, that's not a taco.
It's like Kleenex. It's so generic, the expression. Speaking of taco, Joe Ravello, Joe's Minibike Reunion Hall of Famer. I heard that Joe has got things in motion with his product line. He's got a retail outlet in Santa Ana. I've always loved his website. And if you're interested in taco, or if you're interested in maybe finding out what's going on with taco, then check those guys out. But yeah, it was taco out here on the West Coast, and then a lot of Honda out here because, let's face it, West Coast people had a little bit more money, and if you were a celebrity or whatever the hell you were on the West Coast, typically they had access to a few more things than maybe guys in the Midwest or East Coast had access to, just generalizing. So they had those nicer bikes. Those were for the rich kids, right? None of us had Hondas. None of us had a Benelli. You get beat up if you bought a Benelli around where we were. You didn't have anything that shifted where I came from. You know, you just had a pull starter. So the way I recall it was that was kind of the landscape. Taco, kind of heavy West Coast, Bonanza, and, you know, Rupp in the Midwest. And then it was, those were the popular bikes. Now,
Ruttman was
popular Michigan, right? I think they're out of Michigan.
Yeah,
Yep,
still popular.
Yeah, they still are. We're building them. Hell, I love those bikes. I love everything about those bikes. But those were the frames. The engines, you didn't have as many choices. You either had your Tecumseh
or your Briggs, or well, back then you had the Max
and some Clintons.
Yeah,
and got a couple of these examples over here. In fact, this is one that you put together. This is a pretty cool one. So
that's one I redid.
Yeah, to me, this engine, this Tecumseh, was what I was familiar with. I had this one. This came in the Bozo.
Yeah.
This one came out. This one was in the Bozo. So we got the Clinton. This one wasn't as popular, the Clinton, in kind of the scene. It was the Tecumsehs or the Briggs. And then, if you looked around, these were everywhere. And it's a really good engine. And it's got a spirit from a Briggs, doesn't it?
Yeah. You know, I heard a story. There used to be a Lomart mini bike. I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard Lomart owned Clinton.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I heard. And that's why all the Lomart bikes had Clinton motors in them.
Well, there you go. Huh. I'll check into that.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
And I was fortunate enough to get my hands on this one. And this one's a Virgin, Eddie. You see things like the paint still on the exhaust.
I did a Clinton motor for a guy on I guess it might have been an early 60s or a late 50s bicycle.
Okay.
And it had a Clinton motor on the back.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a conversion to convert your bike into this
motorized contraption.
Yeah. Believe it or not, it had a mini bike rear wheel on it instead of like a 26-inch tire on it.
Yep.
Converted it to a mini bike wheel in the back.
Okay.
It had the 26-inch wheel in the front. It was weird.
Well, now nothing's weird, man. I've started to see some of the things that are on there.
But he builds those kind of bikes.
Yeah.
He lives in Santa Paula.
I didn't realize how cool that scene was. In fact, I'm actually, I'm just going to say it now. I want those bikes at my show. So if you've got one of these bikes converted into engine-powered bikes.
You have to get a hold of them and see
if
you bring it out.
Yeah, we can. But back to the motors, it was really kind of, in my view, like a two-man race with the Tecumsehs and the Briggs. And I have been a little bit more of a fan of the Tecumsehs. And I love this one. This was a 4-horse that came out of a chopper. In fact, that may be it back there. Thank you, Steve, on the chopper. I've always loved these choppers. This is the CR400. This came out. It was not the original engine, as you and I both found out. This one was from Sears, I think.
Yeah.
But you put this engine together, and this engine had been in that bike since like 1968, right? You get this thing, you bring it home, you take it apart. What do you find in this Tecumseh after a zillion years? What did you have to deal with on this particular rebuild? Do you remember, Ed?
Yeah, usually the valve, the tappets are way out of adjustment.
Okay.
And it's solid lifters, so most of the time the valve guides are shot.
Because they're out of adjustment. And people don't understand that they can adjust them on the side, right?
They've been run low on oil for a long time, so everything's kind of smells burny in there when you open it up. Like,
it's too late by then when you've opened it up and you got that funk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too much. They still keep running though, don't they? It's amazing because
they run forever.
So you had that to deal with. Other predictable things like what? Carburetor, obviously, we swapped that out, right?
Yeah, the carburetors, they have a little valve in there that gets stuck in there if the gas dries out, and then they won't work.
And although it's nice to keep that original equipment on there, your results have found that it's been a little bit simpler sometimes instead of rebuilding them just to R&R them with all the cool carbs that are out there now. I mean, I think, didn't we do that with this one as well? Did we rebuild this one?
Yeah, that's a later model carburetor on there.
Okay.
But, yeah.
So we don't worry about taking apart 60-year-old engines and finding cracked pistons, or they need new camshafts like cars. I mean, did you have to go that deep into this?
No.
Yeah. What
that
would
one
cause...
was in pretty good shape when I tore it apart.
So that tells you that it's kind of a low miles. It's examples of the wear and tear that'll tell you whether or not
But I
that's
did tear it apart and checked everything, made sure everything was good. Reseated the valves, and when I reseated them, the lash came back together, and the rings and everything looked pretty good in there.
Yeah,
the cylinder looked good.
I had a chance to use a variety of engines, and I wanted to just keep that 4 horsepower because that's what was designed for that thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as tempting as it is to drop in the 5 horse, and I think we've got a 5 horsepower laying around here. Briggs is another world. Briggs, I purchased from the same guy, actually, Steve. It was a good day for me. It was a good engine pick for me. I got some Clintons, got the bike with the Tecumseh. I've got that iron cast Briggs that Jake Moe's putting together now on Frankenstein.
Oh, okay, I saw that. Yeah,
and that was one that was used. Those engines were originally designed to keep like heaters going, so it's got all these crazy valves on there. And I didn't get a chance to delve into the Briggs. I hear a lot of good things about those too, and as a result, I continue to be looking for Tecumsehs and for Briggs Stratton engines.
Briggs has been around forever, though.
Yeah. In fact, I need your help finding a 5 horsepower for me for the Powell. Well, look, we're going to take a little bit of a break as we kind of lead into the second part of things. What do you think so far? The podcast thing's kind of cool to me because...
Well, this is my first one. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's just, people were asking about it. And, in my mind, I had somewhat of a script, but I've got Miss Minibike and Cousin Eddie in the house, special guest. Karma. We were supposed to tape this thing last night, and something happened, and we changed it. And it just turns out that this is the night that he surprised us. He's coming here, so it's all for a reason. And that's the reason why I think we do this. I hear so many of these guys on our Facebook and our different mini bike websites and Twitter, all that stuff. All these guys say they just want a little attention. They just need a little bit of spotlight. And it's like, I can't do that in the car world. It's like, there's guys out there doing that. We can't do that in the motorcycle world. I can't do that in other markets. There's people out there, music, acting, all that stuff. With mini bikes, it's within reach. And whether it's a little bit of an effort or a little bit of help, and I get a lot of it from a lot of my sponsors, it's something that it's within grasp, and we're going to make a little bit something of it because they are so cool. So we'll talk a little bit more about why these cool mini bikes have kept the attention of guys that we're closer to being dead than we're closer to being alive now, but they still got our attention, Ed. And we'll talk a little bit why mini bikes are cool and why you guys need to be not only getting into them, but go buy one. Like, go buy a mini bike. Go to Craigslist. Go to eBay. Go anywhere. Go to the swap meet. Buy a mini bike. Work on it. Take it apart. Clean it.
Learn how to do something.
Buy an engine for $99 if you have to. Buy a Harbor Freight engine and then ride that thing. And get your buddy to help you. Or come on this show and send us a question. If you got a problem, we're going to help you out. But that's what it's all about. It's all about getting them and buying them and enjoying them. And we're going to talk a little bit about buying your bikes or finding that bike that you had when you were a kid like me. It's like, I want to find my bozo, so you're going to help me do that. But guys that are out there now that maybe they can't drop down 25 grand on a Nova. Man, you give me $2,500, we'll find you a badass Rutman chopper, and we'll put together a badass motor and some nice wheels, and you'll be the hit of that car show. People will be walking by those $25,000 Novas, walking in your mini bike.
They always seem to look at mini bikes.
That's what it's all about. When you get that bike purchased and you get it built, you got to be at Joe's Minibike Reunion, which is October the 1st here in beautiful La Crescenta. It's our 5th annual, and we are going to do it well. We're going to be giving away a roller from Frank and Brian over at F&B Racing. Those guys have been really making some things happening on the custom mini bike scene. In fact, we're going to have those guys on the podcast soon. You know me, I give a ton of stuff away. Ed, you're wearing some of that stuff now.
This is the Hall of Fame hat. I earned this one.
Yeah, speaking of the Hall of Fame, congrats on that again. We'll be, in fact, on our next episode, we'll announce the Hall of Fame inductees for this coming year.
Oh, okay.
And I think that one of them is going to be near and dear to you. In fact, one of them, I'm very happy to say that I was introduced to by you. The other one is someone who's an icon in this industry, and I'm doing my best to get him out here.
I hope so.
Yeah, so we got some cool stuff coming. We're going to be bringing the dyno back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the dyno's coming back.
That was cool. I think a lot of guys like that.
I've already heard about guys that are going to come now just because of the dyno, or they're going to build bikes particularly for the dyno.
I actually found out exactly how much horsepower they're putting out.
Yeah, bullshit. yeah. Got a lot of that. And I took some risks with those dynos last year, man. I have to have better control, and I want it to be visible. It was enclosed last year.
Yes.
And it was like a time bomb was going to go off. So I was a little bit. So this year we're going to set it up, and it's going to be visible, and that's going to be something that's going to be really cool about the event. Plus, I got a few things in store that I want to let the cat out in the bag right now, but kind of the things that you like Miss Minibike coming back, and hopefully we'll see some of the guys from Roadkill. Dave Freiberger and his son came up and hooked up. They've been big supporters of the show, as well as Hot Rod, the Minibike show, since its inception. In fact, our video, which is available on YouTube, Minibike Mayhem, is over 3 million views.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
A lot of that was shot right here with a lot of these bikes. So check it out. In fact, if you haven't seen Minibike Mayhem on YouTube, do that during the break, and we'll be back in a little while. It's Joe's Minibike Reunion podcast, and you're not here, but we are. All right, we're back at Joe's Minibike Reunion podcast. We took a little break. Thanks for hanging out. Hey, so we're new to all this, and I may have misled some of you folks on the Periscope. It's Hitman 5521. We're out of LA, so that's the deal. I'm here with Evil Ed, and I thought we were on for the last 15 minutes, but we weren't. Shut up, Cousin Eddie. Cousin Eddie's back there. They come from out of state to break our chops, right? So all that time, Ed, I thought you and I were having like a good podcast moment. None of this shit was even being recorded.
That's what I thought.
So let's replicate that. Now what we're just talking about is giveaways and sponsors, and we've got a lot of them. And we also talked about the fact that it's just in my makeup, man. I just come from that world. So we've got some promotions that are going to be available, offering some products from everybody from CRC to Pioneer to Mothers, and many, many, many others. We've got copies of Roadkill magazine that will be given away. In fact, I just got a stash of Roadkill magazine bumper stickers, and I've got to give you one. Ooh. I put one on the truck. I got like 100 miles an hour increase in performance, man. It was like immediate. I don't know if that big block we stuck in there helped. Hey, and behind the scenes, you can't see him. It's Emmanuel. And Emmanuel, I just want to say much love, big brother. We're doing what we can out here. Thanks for all the help and all the setup. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this, Ed. He was out here for hours.
Yeah, I know. I was like, before I got home, I looked on Facebook. I'm like,
yeah, it's like,
oh man, look at Joe's garage.
And it's tight. Like, look around.
Everywhere.
Like, if you look around, this is a tight squeeze.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, don't scratch the friggin' Ducati. Don't scratch the Ducati. You know, it's like he's rubbing in here with these things that are 10 feet tall. I found the Rat Fink behind you. Dug that thing up. Do you remember those old Rat Fink bikes, Ed?
Yeah. My friend had one.
So giveaways. Yeah, man, this is what this is all about. So if you're listening or watching or whatever the hell you can do, Periscope viewer, Emmanuel will be kind of be your tour guide on how you have a chance to get your hands around some of this stuff. But make no mistake about it. And for anybody that's been to my show, Ed, we had talked about that. I love giving stuff away because it's just great win for everybody. It's all the manufacturers of these cool parts, whether it's the actual part or whether it's novelties like, I don't know, patches and hats and all that good stuff. It's all about branding. It's all about making it happen. And thanks for representing, man. We tried so many.
Years old already.
Yeah, it's vintage now, right? We got the hoodies.
It's vintage.
Mentioning that Hall of Fame, Ed, when I came up with the idea about having the event, Ray Lipper, the owner for Centerline Racing Wheels, a good guy and a good friend. When everybody was making the latest, greatest wheel ad with more wheel photos in the ads and 3 models and 6 cars, Ray kept it clean. One wheel.
I remember his ads.
Yeah, one wheel, one message, and kind of keeping it clean is what I've always tried to do too. So, and I take my lead from folks that are already successful. Ray would watch big companies outside of the automotive industry and how they advertise, and it was always one image and one statement. SEMA's another example of that. Those of you may see the SEMA Garage sign back there. In fact, if you're into cars and you're on the West Coast, you have to get to Diamond Bar and check out the SEMA Garage and the SEMA Cruise, which
I went to SEMA last year.
You did. We had a good time. That's with the CRC build.
Yep.
We'll talk a little bit more about that. But my point was that I always tried to steal a little bit of thunder from proven examples. And one of those things that I stole from SEMA is their Hall of Fame. I was lucky enough a few years back to be asked to be the host for the Hall of Fame. And I was completely surprised. And to this day, I still really, I don't think I'm totally aware of just how cool of a gig that is. But I've watched how the Hall of Fame in that room amongst your peers and being recognized amongst your peers, the guys that really count, how valuable and how cool of a feeling that was for the folks that got recognized. And, I come popping up out of nowhere. Who would like to have an event? Hey, who wants to go to this mini bike event, or who'd be interested in a mini bike magazine? No one knew me.
Right. I didn't know you when I saw those ads.
No one did. And I didn't, I don't think I probably knowing me and my style. I probably didn't, I wasn't socially.
I even asked Guardrail, I go, who's this guy in La Crescenta? Joe, Bonanza Joe. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a bad sign, right? The Guardrail Dave's in the scene.
He wants to have a mini bike show up there somewhere. So.
It's probably a pedophile. What the hell? I was like, who is this freaking guy, right?
So, well, let's just hang loose and see what happens.
Yeah, it won't happen, right? That's was typically the deal. And I think that was kind of that's what I got. I got that from the old minibike.com guys and some of the responses to things like the Hall of Fame. It's like, well, who are you to have a Hall of Fame? Or who are you to have an event? And I used to joke about it because I didn't know any of you guys. I was so naive to think that I would just put together an event or try to get something going on the scene, and that it would just be nothing but roses and freaking red carpets. And dude, I got to tell you that most of the back noise I got was skepticism. And everybody thought I was in it to make money on the event.
Well, that's what everyone thinks right away when something new comes up.
So what do you guys think?
Cars and the mini bikes, same thing, motorcycles, anytime the first thing comes, someone just found out they think they can make a lot of money putting on a show. Yeah, not really. Some people just like to put on a show,
Yeah, believe it or not, right?
Yeah.
And I fell into that category where this was, my wife gets to listen to this shit, but you don't want to know. You don't want to know hard dollars what goes into putting these.
Well, it takes a lot of work.
And multiply it by 4 going on 5 each time.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't a for-profit, yet the reception among the purists was that, who's this guy, to your point, out of La Crescenta, popping up out of nowhere, trying to do a show, let alone, and then it started to happen. And, I would meet face-to-face, and I must admit, looking back, I think you're the only guy who was cool with me right from the very beginning. You let me, you gave me the benefit of the doubt. It's let's see what this guy's got. Because if he is like everybody else, we won't even hear from him
in
a week.
Give someone a chance,
Well, thanks for that. I guess that's what I'm getting at. Guardrail Dave was like that. And as I think back, not many others. There may be some others who may have thought that, but not so true. I found out very quickly. That's when I first found out the passion within this mini bike community. There was a core, there was a click, and there was this protective zone.
There's clicks,
right?
There's mini bike clicks.
So this Hall of Fame thing, when I brought that up, people were like, "Well, not alone. Here's this guy again, but who is he to select the Hall of Fame?" So when I inducted the guys into the Hall of Fame, and I think there were some legitimate choices, right?
I think I was asked first, and I turned it down. And I told you to give it to Mac, right?
No. Well, here's what I think, if my memory serves me. I know Dave Miller,
right,
was without question, because I had known about him, and Dave's work speaks for itself. It speaks for itself, as well as the fact that I was into Bonanzas, and that's his deal. So he was an automatic. You became my next target because I was very quickly able to understand that you were the face. Like I would see the Evil Ed stickers, and I would see the photos of you at the. That's the other thing too. Is it Winber or Winbear? Winber.
And Windber.
Winber. That Winber reunion,
Yes.
which is. I got to get out. In fact, they actually.
I've been there twice.
Yeah, I saw the photos, and I'll go with you next time. In fact, we'll take the trailer. We'll talk more about that trailer. That trailer's banging, boy.
It's fun out there. I had a good time.
So I'm looking for. Do you bring one or two bikes?
I didn't. I flew.
Oh, you flew. So did people have bikes for you to ride? Was that kind of the deal?
Yeah,
Nice.
Say, if you come out, you can ride my bike.
Yeah, good. We'll take
on
that.
Old mini bikes.
It's a long drive, dude. I don't want to be driving to Pennsylvania, especially when I got my show over here. That's one thing that pisses me off about my show is that you can't ride here because it's so different out here.
You can ride all over that place out there.
So, so when I saw, it didn't take too long. As quick as you typed in mini bike, that there'd be an Evil Ed bike or a story or a photo, and you've kind of adopted this this face for our industry. The beard and the glasses and what you see here. This is you.
I don't know what you're right, but I like to be low key.
Oh, you are.
And the next thing I know, I'm getting stickers made of me, and it's like, wait a minute. Next thing I know, I'm getting this, and people are wanting me to do this for them.
Show up at the event or build bikes for them.
Yeah. I was like, I like to be low key. I'm not a Dave Miller. I'm just.
But even Dave was low key. I found. When he came out, let's face it, the first year, that guy made my show. Thank you, Dave.
I like Dave Miller. A lot of people don't like him, but Dave Miller's all right.
Well, let's just base it on his bikes. He bought those bikes in there. He had that
drag
top
bike.
fuel.
That
thing was
badass.
The other bikes with the rat rod, white wall, mini apes. Those bikes, and every nut and bolt on those bikes, Ed, was the thought out, engineered. It's a whole different level. But he was kind of like he was the Hilton. We're still Ramada Inn guys. Maybe we'll leave the lights on. We're those guys. So the bikes he was building was a little bit of a higher, and that wasn't the group I was going for. I wasn't going for the guys building those types of bikes. I was going for the guys who got I don't know, the freaking Novas over there, or
exactly.
Bonanzas like you and I are into. So this event, that when I first threw it out there and these ideas I had. I just had to find out that I too had to pay my dues too, and I think that through the efforts that you were able to help me get to, as well as the connections that you helped me make, Mac being one of them, that when it came up about my interest in you being in the Hall of Fame, because what I had understood and what I had seen about your contribution as well as your notoriety, it was easy for me, yet it was you to say, hey dude, you gotta check out Mac. And I was not, because I was not born here. Anybody else who's in the mini bike scene on the West Coast, they know Mac like they know, right?
Everyone knows Mac.
Yeah.
He goes to the cycle swap meets and sells. He goes to the regular swap meets by his house. They're like on Wednesdays at the old drive-ins. He goes to those. He goes to San Diego to the go-kart swap meets. He's everywhere.
Yeah.
He's got parts, I'll tell you. He has his own little yard sale in January.
It's epic, that place.
I help him unload, and oh man, I'm tired for a week dragging all those crates out.
I've gone. I went once, and and I was unable to go the last couple of years, and I have had Mac as an exhibitor. In fact, he's my first swap meter. He'll always have that first space, that prime space until I'm dead. He'll always be there. And here's the deal. He ain't just slinging parts. What I love about it, these guys will walk in there and he'll give them like a bag of knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
These guys come in here, think they need a carburetor, tell them what's wrong. He's like, you don't need that. You need this, or I can't find this. And they'll like pull out 50 of them. So him and his contribution that you helped me recognize made him a very suitable, perfect candidate for the Hall of Fame. So with Dave and with Mac, I went from this half-assed show idea, Hall of Fame deal. That really gave me some credibility because these were 2-point guys. There was a pretty good selection for my first 2 picks in the draft, so to speak, you know? And then to have seen that graduate to include you, as well as Joe Ravello, who we mentioned earlier. You were, as I said earlier, a natural. Joe, for obviously having the reins on one of these epic brands, Taco Minibikes. And now as we head into this past year, both Charles, Mini Drag Bike, and Home Alone were inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I think those guys, too, are very suitable for it.
I know both those guys. Home Alone rode my Bonanza drag bike a few times out there at Compton where we race on the street. And
They call him the best. Do you think he's the best?
He's good. He's light.
Right?
He's little.
Yep.
And he's fast with the throttle.
You know, I got to talk to him a lot, and it was during that time, unfortunately, that he had his accident. And
that reminds me of a story.
Well, let's hear it.
Those little stickers you were talking about.
Yeah, the Evil Ed stickers.
Home Alone after we stopped racing my bike, he said, "You know what? I always carry this around." Open up his wallet. There's that sticker of me in his wallet every time, and I'm like, "You already showed me that." He goes, "Yeah, but I got to show you again."
Well, that's part of the folklore. That's part of the Evil Ed.
Take that out of there.
Yeah, it's kind of creepy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's creepy as shit. I would think if someone had like a line art sketch drawing of you. It wasn't even your cropped beard.
In Windberg, so forgot who printed them up. The people were putting them on their campers and stuff.
Hey, when was the last time you know, your beard is coiffed. Like you take care of that thing, but like how often do you typically trim that thing?
Maybe once a month.
And how's that work?
But today's like a rainy day. It's kind of
frizzy.
Yeah,
it's like a hat, isn't it? Today.
It's kind of frizzy.
How long have you had that, Ed?
Oh, I had it forever.
Have you really?
I shaved it off once.
When?
Back in. Well, I had it ever since I could started growing it.
Okay. So was that high school?
I was like 15.
Oh, okay.
I started early.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, it sounds like it.
And I just let it grow, and then I got a job at Lockheed in like 1980, and then I got laid off a few times, went back, and then when I went back one year, we had to take a respirator class. Well, I had worked so long, and I knew I was going to get laid off again, and they wanted me to take the respirator class. Well, 3M was given the class and the test. They wouldn't test you if you had a beard.
So you had to.
It was an automatic no. So you couldn't keep your job.
The choice is pretty much made for you.
They were going to make you wear a respirator.
Right.
The other times it wasn't mandatory to wear a respirator because they had these special downdraft booths and stuff. But then.
So you knew you at least had to go.
They kept telling me you got to take the respirator class, and I kept telling them I'm going to get laid off.
I keep thinking you're saying
you got to shave and take the respirator class. I go, I'm getting laid off.
I keep thinking you're saying I'm going to get laid is what I keep thinking you're going to say. Go ahead.
I came in one day, shaved, and they said, okay, we'll set the appointment up. And 2 days before my appointment, I got laid off. So I never did take the respirator test.
Hey, are there pictures lurking of you without a beard anywhere? Hey, if anybody's got one, send them in. We'll give you a free T-shirt.
So. I have a photo of me and a couple friends taken back in maybe 79, 78.
Clean shaven or just the
Yeah.
mustache?
Yeah, I had like sideburns and mustache going.
But you're going out with that thing now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going out
I've
with
had
it.
it too long.
I can never grow one that big. I had one, but it was just a little bit too spotty, and I think I could probably pull it off now. But either you can do it well or you can't do it. You wear that beard well. Again, it's been enough to get you the face of the mini bike world, so it can't be that bad. So the show,
I can tell you one thing: it's turning grayer every day.
I think it's been gray ever since I've known you, though. I don't remember it being
I
dark.
looked at my old driver's license picture, and there was a lot of black and brown in there.
Well, there's the
I look
one
at
shot.
this driver's license picture. I don't see any of that.
The one shot from Windbear where you're just sitting on the bike, kind of out looking like you're looking for deer out there. I don't know what the hell you're looking at out there. You're just pondering. It looks like you got a little of the formula in there. It's like you brushed something in there. It looks
No,
a
just
little
blow
dark.
dry it.
Just blow dry it.
Blow dry.
We have this little event now. Paul's done his deal out there in Oxnard, which was really cool. When I had gone out there, got to ride around. Then we got chased by the cops. That was kind of ironic because
My friend from Florida was out there.
oh yeah, he was the one who got caught in the cornfields.
Yeah, in the cornfields. Over
And what
there.
happened? He talked back to the cop or something. He went from it being a simple little deal to almost like being some nasty.
Oh yeah, they wanted to haul him in jail.
Could you imagine that? So we went out
Here
there.
he is from Florida, riding a borrowed mini bike. They're going to throw him butt in jail for riding on the cornfields.
When I went up there with Scott Colleen, and Scott's a great automotive photographer and journalist. He just left L.A. He went to Vegas, man. He said, "I've had it." How are you, Scotty? That's his bike right there, the Nova.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Scott came to my show the first year. In fact, he has Scott owns that white Nova that there was a scruffy old dog sitting on top of it in one of the early photos from Joe's Minibike Reunion. That I think my daughter took the photo, and it was one of the cooler photos. And he gave me that bike. He gave me that bike and told me that his wife wanted it out, and that it was a no-brainer for him to get it to me. And when he brought it over, like, look, I'm fucking jammed in over here, right? Like, look, you can't even spin around the chair. But I took it because it was like at the time rat rods were getting really cool, and it just gave me that whole feel. So I really thought that was like a rat rod original, and some of it is, but underneath there's like a purple paint job or like a burgundy, and that's a Nova. Do you remember the Novas? They were an LA built bike.
Yeah.
It's a sturdy bike.
Roman Novas or something?
Yeah, Roman Novas. Yeah, it's that thick old sprocket in the back.
Yeah.
It's got a setup that, although it isn't, it looks like a jack shaft setup. It's just a scrub brake, but it's thick.
Well, that's back when they built stuff.
Well, yeah, and that's something that I was going to bring up earlier, and I didn't. There was over 200 manufacturers of mini bikes that I see online at one time, and that, to me, they were all like a hint of one of the other.
Yeah,
You
basically.
know, a little bit of the little Indian Rutman, whether you go into there's some comparisons I think where they just were branches of, but the fact was that everybody had one. The story that I love the most is the one about Rutman, where they built them kind of out of necessity just to get around working on the cars at the pits. They just concocted one, and it worked. And the other racers were watching these guys zip around, whether it's to grab a tool to go grab the fuel or get down to the track or go
Right.
grab lunch or go smoke a joint, wherever they did back then. They took off on this little pit bike that they built. And the other racers begged, pleaded, and offered money for them to build one for them. It'd be like having the first Jack on rollers. You know, that guy was probably pretty popular because everybody else said, So they came up with that mini bike, the Rutman, started selling them to other racers to the point that it launched their production of Rutman mini bikes. Now, the story also includes a portion of it where they say that it wasn't that clean of a deal, and that some of it could have been a result of them stealing some of the secrets from what the little Indian guys had invested in and what they had created. In fact, there are some cues on the Rutman, because in fact, there's a little Indian behind you. The Rutmans, we've worked together on both of those projects, but those bikes do have some similarities, but it ain't no difference than, I don't know, man. What?
Well, there's only
GM and Chevrolet and Pontiac and Ford and Mercury. I mean, they're all
Cadillac.
something. They're all some from the same cord.
They're all
We're just
from the same General Motors.
But Eddie, we go from 200 to balls. We got like this, Joe's out there doing his deal with Taco. You got a Sousa doing whatever they're
own
doing.
frame.
Okay, right.
Then you have
There's some guys in
Joe
San Diego.
Frame from LA.
Yeah, I look at that regional, and I could be. I don't know Joe. In fact, I'd like to meet Joe
I never
sometime.
met him.
Yeah, well, so we'll have to do that. But Joe's got a little bit of cult notoriety here, but no one's really talking about a Joe's Frame. I don't think quite yet on the East Coast. But there is nobody
Then
with
you have Temecula Bob.
Temecula Bob, but he's like a hardcore builder. Like he's in there doing his stuff. To me, he falls into that category. But there's nobody mass producing these bikes anymore. The days of 200 have dwindled down to on one hand. In the same spirit of what we're doing with these events and these podcasts, I hope that it spurs it up where somebody, I don't know, maybe it's Boral Exhaust. Man, maybe it's Sean and Ron Gibson from Gibson Exhaust. They're bending pipes. They've already got the building. They already got the 30 guys. They've got the love for the bikes. All these guys who own these exhaust companies, you think David Boral and Alex Boral don't love going fast and building shit? They love it. And mini bikes still gives even those guys a hard on. They love mini bikes. So imagine if one of these pipe companies, these exhaust companies, these tube bending guys, start bending some steel, man. The days of everybody worried about the mini bike running over Tommy and cutting his toe off and being sued for $1 million. We're not is it a litigious society as we were before? However you say that. So I think that if you can get people to do zip lines off of fucking buildings, that somebody can have the balls to start building mini bikes again. And whether it's somebody that's listening, whether it's you or whether it's me, I look forward to that time again where it's not 200, Ed, but it sure ain't 4.
Yeah.
I like to see some full-size mini bikes. I like to see some 8 horsepower engines. You see what the 6.5 horsepower Predator is doing. Everybody gets them. Everybody loves them. So we've kind of gone from a 3.5 to a 5 horse.
I want to try and build. I have a Hemi Predator at home.
The V twins, right?
No, just the 6.5. It's a Hemi.
Okay.
But they don't sell them in California.
Well, you must make the call. Cousin Eddie's over there, and
My friend from back in
yeah.
he sent me
Sure. I think that in fact when Gerald, everybody keep good thoughts for Gerald, right? Gerald's battling some cancer issues. He's been kicking its ass, but I know it's been doing a little bit of the same on him as he goes through his chemo. But I was lucky enough to have him. In fact, he was a cool guy. He rode all the way out there from the Inland Empire.
Yeah, I
for
went
a
out
couple.
to his house once. It was a long ride.
It is, and he rolled out. It gave me a great deal on Frankenstein,
Yeah.
the roller, which Jake now has, and that's the bike that you see called Frankenstein. That's on oldminibikes.com.
Yeah.
Under the build-up.
Uh-huh.
That would have been another bike I would have put in the back of your truck, but I had been invading you for the last 6-7 months. Let me take a second and talk to you a little bit about that. The Fiberlock bike that we built, as well as the help that you had with the engine on the CRC bike that was at SEMA, those two builds, as you could probably tell, because you were there more than most while I was going through it, it was a real exciting thing for me. And it was exciting for me not because I could walk around touting I built the bikes or touting really much of anything, with the exception of having the contact and the idea and the vision to let mini bikes start to serve as a way to have primarily these automotive guys who build cars traditionally to promote their products, would even just think about mini bikes.
Right.
And I had this hunch that, again, you probably saw on my face that I knew, because I just saw it, and you see it. You probably see it more than I do. What happens when you roll out on a mini bike? People go nuts.
Yeah, everyone looks at it and says, yeah, I remember those.
They show you their scars and all this other stuff. They all have a story. So I knew it, and dude, it was creepy because people were like, who's this fucking guy talking about mini bikes? Like, Christ, good enough already. It's like, you're 55. Go find a hobby, right? It's like, shouldn't you be whittling wood, or shouldn't you be like...
Well, you got to do something.
That's what I'm saying. Plus, it's like, yeah, okay, great. Go ahead. Fucking typecast me already, but you just watch. I used to tell Linda, I still tell her, I say, these mini bikes are going to be big. It's like, these mini bikes are going to be huge.
It's getting bigger. I remember when I joined oldminibikes.com, the site started in like 06. I joined in 07 because I heard about it. And, you know, there was a few people on there, but now it's like just, they have so many members.
Yeah, well, it's
Like,
reflective of.
whoa, wait a minute. You got like over, what, I think it was like 30,000 people.
Yeah. It's kind of a, you know, when you think about it, you line up 30,000 people, it's.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, and that's just a scratch of what you see. You know how many people that are into it that don't respond? They don't want to be involved in these.
Yeah, a lot of people that are restoring mini bikes, like Mini Bike Paul makes the decals.
Yep.
He always mentions old mini bikes to them, and they go, "Oh no, we never even heard of that site."
Yeah, there's a whole underground group that they're
Yeah.
never going to go online. They're not going to be on some Facebook or Twitter or doing some podcast thing. Hopefully, maybe they will. But the fact is, there's a group of them out there, and when I saw the results, as you did at SEMA, when these two half-ass guys out of California putting together this little mini bike thing, when Mike Robledo, what's happening, Mikey? When Mike Robledo and I picked that bike up the night before the show opened, and we rolled it through the Las Vegas Hilton. From the time it's now the Westgate. Excuse me.
Yeah.
When we took it out of the car, before we even got through that revolving door into the lobby, 3 people. We go down the steps, 10 people. We go down the hall, 20 people. It was, by the time we literally got into the show floor, not only were we hot and sweaty, but I knew, Ed, I had the sweat success. I knew, because everywhere we went, people were looking. People were looking. People were stopping people on the shoulder and pointing to it. And then at the show, because none of that would have mattered unless the client felt the same way. When I went down there, I do a few things at SEMA, so I'm always running around. Different shirts, different times.
Yeah, I saw you.
I love that shit, right? But I had to find the appropriate time to go to CRC. I didn't want to be there first thing, first day of the show. I wanted it to have a chance to have some legs. And then the 2 VPs that were really instrumental in me getting this done, they had a booth at the Bigwig show, the Apex show, which is a little bit of a different spin. So the VPs were there the first and second days, so I couldn't even see the people that I'd really sold this deal to until the third day of the show. Well, by the third day of the show, the reports that they had already received prompted them to come a little bit earlier. We were there with Jessie Combs, who was a big and still is a great endorser for CRC products. She had a line that was a half mile long, and we had a mile that wasn't quite that long, but it was amazing to see what that hunch come to fruition. And when you and I were over there shooting those stupid photos of us from the booth, that was a fun weekend for me, man. And it also gave me the vehicle, through the success of that bike, to do the Fiberlock bike, and that's where you came in.
Yeah, that was a
Talk a little bit about that, because I see the feedback on it, and I see people like the end result of that build.
I was surprised.
Yeah, it was really more cosmetic, the stuff, and it was really more NASCAR themed, but all those little things, whether it was the net or the stickers on the tire. Remember those stickers? Christ.
Oh, God.
Dude, the last day, and Ed, look, I was there for 4 hours that day, and you had it at that point, right? You're like, look, you and these stickers, I'm going to come over there and shove them up your ass.
These stickers are driving me crazy here, Joe.
I bought 3 sets of those fucking things, and I sat out there that morning.
Can I smoke
You
here?
can do whatever you want here, please. Ed, I took...
So you just mentioned Fiberlock bike, and I'm getting nervous.
I said Fiberlock, not biking it. I stood out there with that X-Acto knife and my coffee, and God knows whatever else.
I mean, I have patience, but
yeah. Well, look, dude, I had so I do one side. It's like, well, here's the deal. I'm doing one side. They can just show that bike and that one side. That's it. I'm through the first letter of the first tire, and I'm like, I'm gonna kill myself with that X-Acto knife. And something happened. I got the first one on, the G. The second letter made me want to kill something, break something, call you up, not finish the bike. I was ready to get out of there.
the problem I had is I couldn't get them off the plastic.
Yeah, and I found out why. I found out why. Because when I first got them, the guy says, as soon as you get your package, check them for correctness. Otherwise, return them within whatever it is, 32 seconds. I open them up. I look at them. I fucking spelled Goodyear. I looked at 6 of them. It's like, great. Well, I left them in the envelope. Remember, you used to come over?
Yeah.
You can't leave them out. You can't leave them out open, exposed, because they get dried out. And when they get dried out, so that's what you got. You got the stickers
around everywhere. Like, oh man.
So I got the fresh ones, but even the fresh ones, like I said, the G, terrible. The second O, suicidal. Around the third O, I got it, and then I got a little bit of a click, and I got to the second one, and then I grew the balls to do the other side. And then I was committed. I wanted to give up, but I couldn't now because I had to finish. And then I had to cut a little bit of letters to make an O out of a C or whatever. And so I'm doing all that stuff. And I was so, as excited as I was on the CRC bike, I was so nervous with the Fiberlock bike because not only did we have to get it built, if you recall, but then we had to get it shipped to St. Louis.
We had to ship it. Yeah, we had to get it.
We had to build a crate. It was like there was a lot to it, and that's where all this stuff where I say things like, oh, don't worry, no problem, I got it. I will just ship it. We'll just build a crate. I will just paint it. Oh, don't worry, we'll redo it.
Then we put that gas tank on there to make it look.
Oh, yeah.
Like
it looked just like it. In fact, there's pictures of the Fiberlock gas tank on our website. The Facebook page. Great job, Gerald. Great job in the paint, incidentally. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
But it was those little things. I'm glad that you mentioned that. You know, by us taking this real product and making it a gas tank, or in the case of the CRC,
that was cool. Yeah.
with the brake clean, where we made that the gas tank, that was really cool. That was a really nice touch. With the CRC bike, the red, that was a Frioli. That was a kit that I got with the help from Taco Joe.
Taco Joe, yeah.
Yeah, it was one of the newer ones. We modified it a little bit. We cleaned up a little bit. You know, we painted it up nice. Burnt helped out on that as well. We had a nice seat made by Tim down at Speed Straps. He does a little custom work. That bike wasn't really much of a thing. It was that Clinton engine. You did a nice job putting that together.
My buddy
but the
got
disc brake. The disc brake really pointed it out. The Fiberlock bike was nice because it tied in O'Reilly's. And O'Reilly's, as you know, is huge. In fact, we love those guys. We go there constantly. Our O'Reilly's here on the corner. Well, you know, you get the pictures of us shopping. And and that was the thing about the O'Reilly's bike and the CRC Fiberlock bike, I should say.
That bike.
Remember we walked in there with the empty basket?
Like, oh, it's got to get done. It's got to get done. It's got to get done.
Well, you and I, if anybody shared the pressure of the bike, it's you and I. But honestly, no risk, no reward. We're low key. Like, I ain't doing this shit to be famous. It's mini bikes. Okay, if I want to be famous, we find something with a little bit more pizzazz. But Ed, look, I'm enjoying it now. I'm enjoying the fact that it was a successful promotion for this is a huge company. Like, you go Google CRC Industries, and guess who pops up?
Joe's Minibike.
And you. You know, and when the Fiberlock thing starts to blow up, look, I'm hoping. In fact, I'll ask him for the order right now. Can I please build the Stay Lube bike? Like, I'm ready to go. See the Stay Lube can up there?
Yeah.
And I got an idea for that to blend into like that Frankenstein bike.
Stay Lube's been around forever.
Yeah, well, you know. And that's like a great brand. And to be a part of, like, imagine, so here we go. These two overgrown kids stick around with mini bikes where we're going to maybe now be in the midst, Eddie, of building promotional bikes for billion-dollar companies, dude.
Yeah, that's cool.
So the little pressure, we'll take it. We're going to kind of shut this thing down like they typically do. We had like a 90-minute window. It goes quick. Ed, thank you.
Has it been that long already?
It seems like it. I probably didn't shut up for most of the time, but that's what they say. Keep talking, right? Here's what I'd like to do. You have an open garage. I'd like you to not only help me bring in the appropriate guys, just like you guided me with some of the Hall of Fame selections. I want some appropriate people sitting where you are. You set a pretty high benchmark for these guys to come in now on the show. Let's talk about some future guests, because the guys that I wanted to talk about, let's face it, Jake's doing some really cool shit. Jake Moe.
Jake Moe.
Yeah. A kid came into my mini bike show the first year, and he set it on fire for me. I love that dude. I love his son. I love his wife. I love everything they stand for. I love the pureness of that guy. He's us. So I got Frankenstein in his shop. I'm going to have him build me fender covers for the 51.
Oh, cool.
Make it look like an Apache. But I'm going to blow him up. I'm going to blow him up in roadkill. He's going to build some bikes for us. All right. So I got to get Jake in here. Hopefully he brings my bike in too. It'd be a great opportunity for me to get my bike back.
Got to get Taco Bill in here.
Yeah. So that's what I'm talking about. Taco Bill. I need Charles in there. Mini drag bike. I'd like to get him in here. I'm sure I'll have an opportunity to get some of our other Hall of Famers in here. I also want to, Frank and Brian.
Solo Cali and his brother.
They've been doing some shit, these guys.
Yeah, they're getting pretty heavy in the drag bike building.
Yeah, and I got a call from Brian and I. We give each other shit. In fact, Brian was giving us shit about we put for engine modifications E3 spark plug on our build. Yeah. So I've been friends with him, and he's into G bodies, and I have like my '85 Monte Carlo, so we got all that. But I got a call from Frank.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Frank. It's like Frank's making some things happen with his pipes, and he's selling them now.
Yeah,
and,
he's selling those pipes. He's selling a lot of them.
He wanted to come to the show, and him and I started talking, and it's like, man, I don't want $25 or $50 for a booth. You can have as much space as you want. It's like, give away some pipes to my guys. Give away some product. I'm all about giving stuff away. I don't need the $75 for 75 feet of grass with next to the dog park. Bring as much stuff as you want. Bring me some pipes. As the conversation progressed, I said, look, how about we do a roller? I give bikes away every year. I gave away a little Indian last year, Taco the year before. So we're going to give away a roller. And that was a result of some stupid Facebook post I made and some reception I got back from him. He wants to step it up this year, and we're going to help him do that. So we're going to have him in there. Guardrail Dave's down the street.
Yeah,
let's rattle his cage. I haven't heard from him. Hey, give us a couple parting shots. Anything that we maybe didn't talk about? You want to say hello to anybody?
Yeah, let's say hi to my friends in Michigan on Facebook, and my friends out here in California, and my friends in Pennsylvania. You know who you are.
You'll be in Pennsylvania hunting those guys for the event when June. When is it? June?
Father's Day weekend.
Father's Day. Who are you gonna hang out with back there?
Well, my friend Gerald, I did a bike for him. It was I painted it for him.
Oh, okay.
He assembled it, and he won Best in Show.
Pow!
At the Minibike Reunion with it. That was the Jack Spittler bike.
Okay.
It's a dual engine, and I like hanging out with him. I like hanging out with Drew.
Yep. Drew's the guy behind the scenes, right?
Yep.
Making it all happen over there.
Yep.
I like to meet Drew. I think Drew and I may have gotten through one of those email introductions, which don't always work out.
No, they never do.
Plus, I'm an asshole on that too. I felt a little bit guarded, as I said earlier on. But right now, I ain't feeling that way, Eddie. I feel like I'm a part of the team.
I'd like to say hi to my friend JD if he's in there from SI Valves. He built the motor for me. We used to drag race it out there.
How about Tim Adiski? He's been
Tim
there.
Adiski gave me a cam. I love Tim.
Well, I'm going to give a couple shout outs too to join in, and that goes to all my sponsors for the event. I got one that's really dear to my heart. Camel Automotive, been with me forever, right down the street. Great little shop. Lisa, Tommy, and Bill, and all the family over there, thank you. Love you. My friends at Pioneer, my friends at Mother's Polish, they've been with me forever, man. Thank you guys. They're always there stepping it up. I've got some hopes that we're going to continue what we started here tonight, which is some cool podcasts. They're going to air bi-weekly. Twice a month you'll hear from us.
That's cool.
I want to thank my wife and family. I want to thank all my friends back in Utica, New York. All my folks who come to Joe's Minibike Reunion, which is October the 1st, CV Park in La Crescenta.
Be there.
Yeah. See you next time.
Minibike Show.